The three investigators, a trio of young detectives consisting of Justice Jonas Peter Shaw and Bob Andrews, are facing a career crisis. They've gained notoriety for solving a case in Romania, but now their business is flooded with frivolous requests to find missing pets and toys. Justice, the leader, believes this cheapens their brand, which is dedicated to solving real mysteries. Peter and Bob, however, are just happy to have work. Their internal conflict is interrupted by a new client, Prentice, who seeks their help with a supernatural problem. Prentice claims his apartment is haunted by the Carpathian Dog, a mythical creature from a Romanian legend. He says there are strange noises, flickering lights, and moving objects in his home since the death of his partner Edward, a talented artist. Edward's final and most important work was a crystal sculpture of the mythical creature, also titled the Carpathian Dog. Despite his skepticism about the supernatural, Justice agrees to investigate. He theorizes that there is a rational explanation for the supposed haunting. When the boys visit Prentice's apartment, they are introduced to his eccentric neighbors, including his brother Charles, a somewhat reclusive inventor, and a nosy busybody named Mrs. Boogie. While at the apartment, the haunting happens again with a terrifying disembodied howl. The trio and Prentice follow the sound to Edward's studio, where they discover the Carpathian Dog sculpture has been stolen. As they investigate, a masked figure flees, and Peter, in his pursuit, collides with Mrs. Boogie scattering her groceries. The police arrive and are dismissive of the boys, chalking the theft up to a professional art thief and telling them to stay out of it. But Justice is determined. He notices that Peter saw a different bag and a different running style from the second person who bumped into Mrs. Boogie, which means there were two individuals involved. He suspects one of the residents is the culprit. To identify the ghost, Justice and the boys apply a luminous paste to objects in Prentice's apartment, theorizing that the thief is still trying to get information and is the source of the haunting. The paste is invisible in normal light but glows under UV rays, allowing them to track who is snooping around. They catch Mrs. Boogie red-handed using a fingerprint left by Prentice to bypass his new security door. Mrs. Boogie confesses that she was simply trying to expose Prentice, whom she suspects is a fraud who inherited Edward's fortune. She didn't steal the sculpture, but she knew it had been left in the studio. The next night, the trio gets a frantic call from Prentice. The haunting is back, stronger than ever. The boys rush over to find Prentice's apartment in disarray and their client on the verge of a panic attack. The incident proves that Mrs. Boogie wasn't the ghost after all, and the true culprit is still at large. With the police no longer an option, the three investigators decide to conduct their own official investigation. They begin by reconstructing the crime scene. They deduce that the thief, being an adult, could not have entered the building through the small window, which means they must have come in the front door. This realization brings them back to an earlier observation. A contortionist named Ms. Hassel lives in the building, and she is small and flexible enough to get through the window. This makes her a viable suspect. They also consider other tenants like Sonny, a strange cashier saving up for a trip to India, and John Murphy, a stockbroker who claimed to have an alibi but whose alibi is called into question when a call reveals he may have been at a different restaurant than he said. The investigation leads them to question the motives of each resident. Sonny, the cashier, seems to have a need for money for his journey to India. Peter realizes that the contortionist Ms. Hassel could have gotten through the small window into the studio. Bob discovers that the stockbroker Mr. Murphy lied about his whereabouts on the night of the theft. Charles, Edward's brother, is also a suspect. He has a vast knowledge of electronics and inventions, giving him the ability to create the haunting with sound and light, and a rivalry with his brother could have been a motive. The waitress Gwen also lives in the building, and the boys learn she has been struggling to land an acting role, which could lead to financial desperation. In the end, it's a series of small, seemingly insignificant details that unravel the case. Justice realizes that Charles, who was always so supportive of Prentice and knowledgeable about his brother's work, might have an ulterior motive. He remembers that Charles was the one who gifted Prentice the black dachshund, and that Prentice said the sculpture was Edward's first important work. The fact that Charles also knew how Mrs. Boogie created the fingerprint shows he is a man of many talents, including some that could be used for criminal purposes. Justice concludes that Charles, feeling overshadowed by his brother's success, became jealous. He created the haunting to drive Prentice out of his mind and steal his brother's masterpiece. Charles's vast knowledge of engineering and his brother's obsession with dogs and macabre subjects gave him the perfect cover to create the illusion of a supernatural event. The trio sets a trap to expose Charles. When they confront him, he initially denies everything, but the truth slowly comes out. He admits to stealing the Carpathian Dog to finally get the attention he felt he deserved. He felt his brother had always stolen the spotlight and that his own creative genius was never acknowledged. The investigators recover the sculpture, and Prentice is able to hold the exhibition. The three investigators' reputation is restored, and they get to solve real mysteries again. They realize that they need to focus on cases that challenge them and avoid the small, insignificant ones. The movie ends with the trio ready for their next big case and with a renewed sense of purpose. Justice realizes that the culprit is likely a resident of the building, and the haunting and theft are connected. The trio begins to investigate each of Prentice's neighbors. They discover that Sonny Elmquist, a young man who dreams of going to India to become enlightened, is a sleepwalker and frequently suffers from amnesia. They also look into John Murphy, a seemingly wealthy stockbroker who lied about his alibi on the night of the theft. Peter gets hurt during a chase with one of the suspects, which prompts Bob to set up a mobile detective hub in the junkyard. Justice and Peter pursue their leads. Justice talks with a professor about the psychological basis of hauntings while Peter and Bob investigate Sunny and another neighbor, Ms. Hassel, a contortionist. They discover Ms. Hassel is secretive because she keeps a forbidden pet, but she is not the thief. The trio then realizes the significance of Sunny's sleepwalking. Bob discovers Sunny has been sleepwalking and bringing things to Murphy's apartment. After solving the mystery of the haunting, which was a sound device hidden in a gift from Charles Prentice's brother, the investigators turn to the theft of the dog. They learn that Charles was left out of his brother's will and was acting out of revenge. But Charles is not the thief either. The plot thickens when Mrs. Boogie's car is bombed and Gwen, a struggling actress in the complex, is poisoned. A series of attacks begins targeting each of the residents. Justice theorizes the thief is one of the residents but has lost the statue and is systematically taking out anyone who might have seen them. A ransom note demanding money in exchange for the dog arrives, and another resident, Mr. Murphy, is nearly killed in a fire he started himself. The investigators piece together the clues and discover that John Murphy is the culprit. He is not a wealthy stockbroker but an embezzler who is trying to pay off his debts. He saw an opportunity when he learned about the Carpathian dog and realized he could manipulate Sunny into stealing it for him while he was sleepwalking. He used the sleepwalker to commit the perfect crime. However, the plan went awry when the trio's rival Skinny Norris witnessed Sunny with the dog and took it for himself. Skinny then blackmailed Murphy, who in turn began systematically attacking the residents to get them out of the way. He thought if he had a clear shot he could get the dog back from Skinny. The trio confronts Murphy at a comic convention where the exchange is supposed to take place. They stop the exchange and apprehend Murphy. Skinny is also caught and is sentenced to community service. Inspector Cotta, who has been dismissive of the boys, is impressed and is getting a new posting to Rocky Beach. The case is a huge success. The exhibition goes on with the profits going to a new foundation for aspiring young artists. As the boys celebrate, a new mystery presents itself, leaving them ready for their next adventure. Justice Peter and Bob, now celebrated for their role in solving the case of the Carpathian dog, find themselves at a crossroads. The success of the investigation has cemented their reputation, but it also prompts them to reflect on the nature of their work. They realize that their true passion lies in solving complex, high-stakes mysteries, not in the mundane tasks that have been filling their time. Prentice, now recovered from the ordeal, is grateful for their help. He holds the grand exhibition for Edward's artwork as planned, with the recovered Carpathian dog as the centerpiece. The profits from the exhibition are donated to a foundation for young artists, a fitting tribute to Edward's legacy and a symbol of the beauty that can arise from even the most convoluted of circumstances. At the exhibition, Justice's Uncle Titus and Aunt Matilda present the boys with a special gift, a car, a vintage one that will serve as the new Three Investigators mobile. It's a practical and symbolic gift representing their newfound independence and a clear separation from the days of being taxied around. Peter, having just gotten his license, is thrilled at the prospect of taking the wheel and having the freedom to go on new adventures. The car, while a bit worn, is full of character, much like the trio themselves. It needs a little work, but they are more than up for the challenge. Their celebratory mood is interrupted by an unexpected phone call. A mysterious voice alluding to the riddle of the Sphinx challenges Justice to solve a complex puzzle to save a life. The voice is cryptic and serious, a stark contrast to the frivolous requests they have been receiving. Justice, ever the detective, is intrigued. He immediately knows this is not a prank and that a real case, a real mystery, is unfolding before them. As the movie ends, Peter and Bob remind Justice that they are on vacation and have earned a break, but Justice, with a glint in his eye, knows that the call to adventure is too strong to resist. The trio is ready to face their next challenge, marking a new chapter in the lives of the three investigators. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.